Welcome to Well Played Podcast, a show on all things playful and joyous in education. I'm your host, Michael Matera, sixth grade teacher, author, and motivational speaker. Well Played Podcast is a part of the On Podcast Media Network. And today is season 4, episode 11. And we're doing back to buildings here, back-to-back episodes with Jordan. Jordan, so good to have you on the show today again. Like I said, back-to-back weeks on the same topic, but it really felt like we weren't done.
Yeah.
And instead of putting this episode, 10 weeks later, let's do the back-to-back follow-up.
For sure.
And so anybody that didn't catch last week's episode, definitely bounce back to that. Check that one out. Jordan, if you want to give a really brief intro yourself in case somebody is going to listen to this one first.
For sure. So I'm Jordan Laughlin. I teach in Peace River, Alberta at Glen Mary School. So I teach junior high, grade 7, 8, 9 social studies, and I'm going to be starting year 3 of gamification, fully gamified, both classes, all my classes for social studies.
That's awesome. I dig it. So both of us last week sort of talked about why we do buildings and kind of what buildings can add. So again, if you haven't checked that out, that's season 4, episode 10. This one, we thought we'd actually get into the mechanics of our building, like literally share some of the buildings, share how kids earn them or unlock them a little bit, but really talking specifically about the buildings. What do they do, right? Because last week, I think we talked a little bit about how students can unlock them, I think.
Yep.
So really this one's more, what do they do? So do you want to start? Do you want to fire off a building that works in your class?
Sure. Yeah. I was just kind of going through it real quick there. Well, because I do, in my one game, they build their whole settlement and colonies up. So in their one settlement, they usually start with building a church because, they need that, and that helps them get some victory points, and they have the power of prayer. So every church that they build, they get the power of prayer to help heal their guys 5 HP if they're injured during battle. And so they need resources to build that. So they need a wood and a glass and then 50 gold, and then they can create their church on their settlement on our battle board.
That's awesome. So a distinct difference here in this show that we should probably just tease out for a second. Jordan has a battle board, so that is like a physical game board, if you will, that people are sort of interacting with, moving towards. You're actually placing these things down on the board. Mine, again, going back to last week's, just a quick refresher, mine are actually buildings that are physically sort of printed off and hanging on a bulletin board, and then kids interact by putting their avatars beneath my buildings. All right, so that's just a good sort of disclaimer there.
Yeah, mine's more like Civilization, and they build up their buildings, and I have little cards for them, and then they can buy them and build them, and yeah.
Yeah, so one of the first ones, so at the beginning of my year, they start with just a few buildings, and they have to kind of unlock the rest. And one that I totally got basically from Jamie Halsey, if you know her.
Yep.
She does a deck system with her items where basically she mixes up a bunch of cards. She has a bunch of different decks, and depending on what you do or want, you would kind of go to that deck and randomly draw a card, and that's the card you get. And when she told me about this mechanic, I was like, this is so genius, and I wanted to add it to my game right away. And at the same time, I happen to be developing buildings, so I said, I'm just going to make this a building, and I call them these shrines, and I have these different shrines: shrine of wisdom, right, shrine of power. But one of the starting buildings is just kind of a base level shrine, and this shrine, what it allows you to do, I absolutely love it. Throughout my game, kids lose items for various things, like getting some wrong answers in a boss battle, this kind of thing. And so slowly throughout the year, I get this deck of cards that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this generic shrine that they have, if they go there, they get one random item from kind of the leftover deck, right? And the deck kind of naturally builds itself because at the beginning of the year, items that are lost are powerful at the beginning of the year. But as the year progresses, that's kind of the junk item. And this thing's filled with junk items. But there are some kids that only had a few good items and they lost an item, so it goes in there. Or if kids use an item, not lose it, it goes in there. And so then sometimes there's really potent, powerful things mixed into a huge deck of okay or possibly terrible items. Now, nothing can hurt you, so it's a nice free spot for people to get items.
That's cool. No, I kind of was thinking about that with almost like a lottery that I kind of do. And when I have to take cards away, they go into the lottery, and then it's a 50-50 lottery when whoever wins it.
Nice. I dig it. I dig it. So what's another building you have? What's one kids really like and use a lot or get pretty excited when they build?
They like to build the barracks because they get a free soldier, and so then they can also then level up their soldiers if they have any already, and so they can use those to basically, you know what a barrack is, right? So it protects it's their training ground, so they get to up their level and their soldiers, and then they can use those to go attack other settlements and colonies. Because it's like Clash of Clans, the Civilization, my whole game, and yeah, so they're trying to build up their armies right away.
That's awesome. So a big one there is sort of accruing those points and accruing the soldiers. Sorry, soldiers being kind of the points I was referring to there.
Yeah.
And so that they could then go out and expand their territory, take things, defend, all those. Yeah. That's awesome. I don't have a big combat system other than sort of the boss battles, which is something I've debated, like, should I add? Because I do have, because of the boss battles, I do have health points. Like, I could totally add that feature in. I haven't yet. One of the other buildings I have is this sort of blacksmith, and what they do is they go, and how the graphic looks, and kids like this one. They do this one a lot. Each house has a slot that they can put one person, one avatar, and then beneath their avatar they put the item that they want the blacksmith to try to like customize for them. And then there are these 4 dots above it, and I stick a pin in that dot. The first week they roll, and the first week I think they have to get a 1 through 5 on a 6-sided die. If they do, their item just gains some BP. So now they have a custom item, whatever the item might be. The item might not even have BP to begin with. Maybe the item does already have BP, being battle points.
Right.
Then the next week it gets harder. Like they have to roll like a 1 through 4, but now it gets even more BP, right? Progressively down to the fact where like you could make a mega powerful item even in the beginning of the game. Like nothing in the beginning of the game has something like 100 or 200 BP. But if they successfully make it to that like last week, they could get like, I think it's a 150 BP item, but they have to roll exactly a 1. If they ever roll the not correct amount, they get kicked out, right? So like, and they get to keep wherever they were at, you know? However, if you roll a 6, your item breaks. Like the blacksmith pushed it too hard. And that's just a fun sort of push your luck. Do you stay? Do you lock in? Do you just try anyways because the odds of losing it are small? And then like anybody that's heard some of these podcasts about items, I have items that allow you to like re-roll and these kind of things. So like eventually you can kind of lessen the chance of it breaking, but that's a fun one.
Oh, that's cool. I even have ones that you can like, it's kind of like a series. Like, so like with the church I was talking about, they have to have a church, then they can build a cathedral. Once they have a cathedral, they can build a monastery, and each one is better, like an addition to what they already have. So it just makes it even better and more powerful. So I have like a series of like buildings. So like I have a school, a college, a university. Each one is better, and each one like gives them more. So for this, it gets them better percentage off building costs. They only have to have, if they have a university, it's 75% off the building costs, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then they can then they can build like architects, and then they can combine it with a hospital and reduce the spread of diseases, which because we learn about diseases in it, so that will help reduce it if they have a university and their their hospital, because then they can actually find a cure.
I like that sort of combination of buildings producing like a new thing.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Uh, I to try to so I don't have a map. I think we talked last week about
Yeah.
having a map, and I still want a map. I mean, I'm a history teacher. Like I still want a map. But that said, to sort of get the feel of having to travel, I
Yeah.
have 4x4 bulletin boards, and their original city's only on one. And at the beginning of the year, the other one's just sort of blank, and I don't even make it look like it's part of the game. Like they think I'm going to hang up their projects or something there. And eventually, I start hanging buildings over there, and they're like, "Well, I want to go there," and I pretend that is like no, but those are like distant places. So one of the buildings they have to unlock in their on their 4x4 grid is like a seaport, and the seaport they can sort of travel, and eventually one of the items they can have are boats themselves, and if they don't own a boat themselves, then they have to like pay gold to like basically at the seaport you can hire somebody to take you someplace, or you can have your own boat. So, and that allows them then access to these other buildings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Well, that's cool.
that gets that map feel without the map. But I still, oh man, do I want a map?
I'm making one for my Renaissance game this year. So
Yeah,
I've already got the idea, and I'm building it, and I'm going to have it on my bulletin board. But then the physical one that I have for my grade sevens, it's it's huge. It's like 12 feet by. It fits on top of my countertop, and it's 12 feet long.
dang,
Yeah.
I'm jealous. So do you have some other like highlights here?
Well, we have a farms. We have
What do
a
your farms
harbor.
do?
Yeah, we have a mine, and so then when they mine, they can, depending on what they decide at the very beginning, when they build their mine, they have to roll a dice, and then that determines what they get. So they can get a stone, they could be have iron ore, metal, black powder, gold, or diamonds, which is like the hardest one, like the best one to have, because you can get like, I have a little these little scratch off sticker cards that you scratch the diamonds, and it tells you how much the diamond is worth. Some are false diamonds, which are worth nothing, but then there's like good ones that are worth like 1,000, 5,000, and like they're just super rare. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. I I have a mine in so I think like we discussed last week, I had these buildings that we've talked about so far, these style buildings, and then
Yep.
when we went digital or all online learning, I decided buildings were going to make the jump to online learning, and I made this is where we talked about civilization and having the
Yep.
like right, and some of the buildings I thought I'd share there that I feel like work in an online setting. If anybody wants to add buildings, but they want to be prepared for next year,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that's going to bring. Oh no. I went with a Clash of Clans style. So that means I have a town center that's level one, which means you can only build level one things. I have a town center level two, and you can build level one or level two, and then town center level three. And then in each level, let's see, what do I have in each level? Got to zoom out here. I zoomed too far in. I have 5 buildings in each level. So that means there's 15 like actual active buildings, and then the 3 town centers, they get a town center for free to begin with. And looking at some of my level 1 buildings, just to give you guys kind of a concept here, right? I have the farm. So my farm earns 25 XP per Realm of Nobles assignment turned in the house. And then I have a mill that doubles the value of your farms. So that's
Mm.
like, ooh, that's kind of like your interaction with the university, right? Getting the
Yep.
better things. So then kids trying to strategize, how many mills do you buy? Like versus how many farms do you buy? That's a fun one. A little bit like your barracks, I have an archery range, and it increases your defense and raid value by 1.
Oh, nice.
Well, you say nice, but I have to fully admit, I never flushed out what that meant. Like, I wrote it, and this is a good thing that I want to admit on the podcast, that like in gamification, sometimes you're out innovating yourself, right? Like, I never doubled her back to like what is a raid, and so obviously like your defense would protect against a raid, but if you were to exercise the raid portion of that comment, I don't know how to do that yet.
Well, if I'm going to be totally honest too with you, I actually hadn't figured out how they would fight each other with their armies yet. They
Fantastic.
wanted to build these armies, but I'm like, still hadn't figured that out. I was working with Thomas. He's on our XLab chats there,
Yeah.
and we were working on it, but I hadn't figured out how they were actually going to interact with their battles and actually fight each other. So everyone was just building up their defenses in case someone tried to attack them.
This is fantastic. Some truth bombs being dropped here on Well Played. But again, I think it's valuable that people see that, because I think sometimes people look at your year-long game, my year-long game, and they just think they have it all figured out. Look at all this stuff they can attack, they can build, and it's like, no, we put a lot of things in play, and we finish what we can finish, and some things we're going to continue to tinker with. I do want to figure out this raid system, but like I don't have it yet. But I put it there because it needs to exist. It needs like that. That's a realistic. If we're playing in the realm of nobles, Middle Ages, like that's a thing, and it's a constant reminder that I need to fix that thing and figure that thing out. It also, by putting it in play for both of us, that's sort of an invitation to kids too, to be like, maybe if you got a suggestion, and some of them are harebrained and they're never going to work, but sometimes it's like they figure it out. Like that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's good that we both put that out there. I like that.
I think, well, that's the thing. Like, it's constantly evolving, right? And my kids drove my game. Well, what we were doing even this year, they wanted to be able to get places faster, so they came up with roads. And now they're like, well, we need railways, because as we were getting further and further in history, they started building the railways. So that was the next thing that was going to be coming in too, because they were pushing it in that direction.
I love it. Like adding those railways, that's genius. Kids are smart. That's that natural growth. I dig. Let's see. One of the other ones I had was a mine. And so this sort of interacts really nicely with my spreadsheet that I use. My spreadsheet has the ability to, you can like set sort of everyone's sort of salary, if you will, and you just push a button and the thing comes down and gives everybody that amount. And so the mine adds 100 gold per person per week. Payment made at the end of the week. So this just means on Friday I just got to hit that button. And if your house built a mine, whatever your personal salary is because of other items and other things, I just add $100 to it. And then I just hit that pay, and now you make $600 because of various things you have, and somebody else makes $200, somebody else makes $0 because they don't have that building or other things.
I like that.
Yeah, that was nice. And so that produced an interesting conversation in the class, because there are kids that have tooled themselves and geared themselves to be more like gold centered. That was the thing they had a lot of. That was the thing that if they had more gold, they could strategize even more. And there were other kids that were more BP focused, and there were other kids that were more XP focused than gold. So these are my three big currencies. Again, I have health, but health really only interacts with that one portion of my game.
Right.
So those are the three big things that are everybody's centered around. And then there were kids that were kind of middle of everything. But like the kids that were all in on gold, like wanted the house to like, let's build mine after mine. Like we want 10 mines. And other kids were like, that does nothing for me because that's not their goal. So to have that as a house, have to decide what building to add to their online world, that was awesome. And it was fun to have that debate too, because we missed that being kid interaction in the classroom, right? This is the kind of thing they would talk about in the hallways, but they don't have hallway talk now.
No.
So to have that debate was pretty cool.
And I can see that's where I will go if we continue with this online teaching next year. That I think I'm going to do something similar to what you have for sure, and have that online map so that we can keep going. and we can have the game. Because otherwise, my game kind of fell off the rails there for a bit there. So I would like to keep going, even if we are online next year.
Yeah, me too. I want this summer. It's going to be a lot of soul searching of what stays, what goes, because I really want mine to be nimble enough that if we bounce between, it's still fun in the classroom, but it's still functional online.
Right.
But I still want the tactile nature, so I don't know. I got to figure out that. Like, I still like handing a kid an item, handing a kid a badge.
I do too. Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be allowed or not. Like, we'll see. We'll see. But that is something I will definitely go back to immediately when all this is over. Is the physical side of things. Trying to think of other buildings that would be just good things to share with other people so that they get a flavor. Do you have one that you think would be good in kind of any game? Like if we pulled it out of your game, I could add it to mine.
Well, did you say you had a harbor or a hospital?
I did say I had a harbor that allowed them to sort of travel to those farther buildings.
Right.
Hospital.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. That helped. Yeah, I thought it was good because it would help protect against diseases, and they can be used to revive half their health of HP in a battle. They can use that once per battle.
Ooh,
so
nice.
That's good.
I don't know about you guys, but in online learning, we had some kids that had more missing assignments than usual. And I always try to stress the team nature of the game, right?
Yep.
So one of the buildings I added to my online game was the dungeon. And the dungeon, you earned 100 XP for the house, for like other houses missing assignments. So your house, it had nothing to do with your house. Like everyone in your house could be missing assignments. That doesn't hurt. That doesn't help. But other classes having missing assignments. So if 10 kids total in my grade had missing assignments and they weren't from your class, that would be 1,000 XP your class earns for just having a dungeon. It's like you've arrested those people and put them in the dungeon. So it kept other houses on their toes. So it kind of did the work for me. Once kids started building dungeons, I had less and less missing assignments.
Nice. That's a good one. I like that.
That was a good little twist.
Yeah, no, I like that one. I've been taking some ideas from a game that I just recently borrowed from a buddy there. Rivals for Catan. It's a 2-player card game.
Rivals for Catan. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, it's a little card game, and I haven't actually played it yet because we were going to play it one of the days when we didn't have a lot to do. But I've been going through the instructions, and they've got a ton of buildings, and it's almost like you build your little settlement up with your different buildings, and then each building has different powers too. So I'm taking some of these some buildings from this game now. It's giving me some good ideas.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm gonna add that to my check this out list.
Take a look out. Yeah, it's really cool. Like if they've got a ton of buildings in there, and I'm like, oh, I never thought about this building. Oh, I should have a toll bridge. That would be smart. So I'm just gonna start adding some of these things in and go with that and see if I can add more, because I know with my new game that I'm doing for Renaissance, we need more buildings and not necessarily the same buildings as I would in my colony game. I want to have different buildings, so it's not just the exact same game over again for the next grade.
I dig.
Yeah.
What age level do you think you could go down to for Rivals for Catan?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It doesn't actually say.
Curious if my 9-year-old could play.
Oh, ooh.
She plays a lot of games. We definitely don't go by whatever the thing says. But what does the thing say?
It says 10 plus.
So if it says 10 plus, she's good. I mean, she plays games that are 14 plus, but
then she'd be good to go.
But it does depend the type game. Like there are some that she can handle better than others.
But it looked really cool. Like I saw them playing it. I didn't play it yet, and I'm like, I gotta take that. I gotta borrow that. And I haven't even played it yet myself, but I was starting to take the buildings out of it because they've got some good building ideas.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we're coming towards the end of our chat here, but before we get to reflection time, I just want to tell people, like, use some of summer to explore. So like he just said, he played Catan, this alternate Catan game, Rivals for Catan, and started pulling ideas from it. I believe last episode I suggested that you check out Clash of Clans
Yeah.
app style game and pull ideas from there. I'm playing this. It's not really that great of a game. It's this Airport City. It's called. It's a free. It's very much like Clash of Clans. Like you have to wait. It's a time based game. Yeah, like build a building, but it's going to take 3 hours. So then you kind of don't do anything for 3 hours, and then you log back in, build the building. Now you can do a couple more things, right? But in it, it had some neat mechanics I saw it play. And I'm thinking about adding, one of the things I'm going to add, I think, from this game is you had a population limit. And so you want to build all these great buildings to earn you more money and get you more like people to fly your planes and all this other stuff. But like ultimately, like your town could only handle a certain population. So then you had to like upgrade, in this case, your town center to upgrade your population limit, right? So you kept hitting these limits that like, oh, but I want to build the bank, but like each building adds so much population, and it's like, oh, you can't because you're out of literal like population space. So not only did you have like territory space, but you had population space that you had to deal with. And I thought that would really work. I, again, don't know how yet, but if each of my buildings that I just ran through now, like if there was like a certain space, so like, do you want to build 10 farms to like hammer out farms, but like that takes some of your space, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. No, that's cool. I like the. I was playing around with the idea of possibly doing the population with the settlements, but it was like I was having a tough time trying to manage all the other mechanics that I decided to leave that for now.
And I think that's a great note to leave on is, you got to do what you can handle, your throughput. And as your game grows, some of those things naturally should die off because maybe they aren't good mechanics, but
Yeah.
others might still be good mechanics. You're just not at an efficiency level because maybe you have all these other new ones, or maybe these other old ones that are good that you're trying to like keep up with. So it is always about managing that time, managing that throughput, but always be innovating, always be pushing, see what you can add, and understand some things are going to die out.
Yeah.
So this brings us to reflection time. So let's hear our quote of the day. This quote is by Oliver Wendell Holmes. The great thing in the world is not so much where we stand as in what direction we are moving. How's that hit you there?
Oh, sounds like we're exploring. Like where are we going to go next? Always innovating and always pushing forward, like we were talking about today. Like with our games and with our buildings that we're building, it's like it it keeps going. It just keeps evolving. Especially if you get the input from the kids. Like this can just keep on going and getting better and better each and every year because I'm invested, and then they become invested because of how passionate I am. So I like that direction that you're going.
I like that quote too, right? The great thing in the world is not so much where we stand, right? We can be proud of what we've developed.
Yeah.
We can be happy with what we've developed. We can sit here and celebrate some of those things we've developed, but ultimately it is the direction we're moving. So this idea of add some mechanics, try some new things, and some of them aren't going to work out, but that's okay. It's that we're moving in that direction. That's the important piece.
It is.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us on Well Played 2 weeks in a row. That's fantastic. Love having you. I'm sure you'll be on again. So everyone else, thank you so much for joining this week and every week. As always, pass Well Played on to a friend if you can. Write a little review on iTunes or whatever your podcast station is. That always helps. And check out my YouTube channel and my website for more information. And everybody, have a great day, and play on.